Okay, guys, welcome to Beyond the Woodline. My special guest tonight is Felipe Mendoza. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with him and knows who he is. Um, yeah, he's been on the scene for quite a while, and he's got his own shows now. One of them being Mysterious Woods, the other one being Big Dog Random Show, and then the other one he's affiliated with is Squatch Dogs. So, how you doing, Felipe?
Doing good, doing good. Just enjoying this weather. It's getting nice. So I'm think there's gonna be a lot of people running out in the woods. I know I
Yeah,
just got back from Arkansas. I did a little camp out there. It was the weather was excellent. It got a little cold the first night. Uh, Second night wasn't so bad, but I got a little buddy heater, and then my lady was keeping me warm.
oh yeah, good deal, man. Good deal.
Yeah, which I twisted her arm and proposed to her, and she couldn't refuse.
That's good, man. Yeah, congratulations on that. I think everybody was happy for you, both of you guys, really.
Yeah, I got a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, man. I think you got somebody to say yes. You better hold on to her, man. Um,
Yeah, she likes to do all the stuff that I like to do. She likes to go out in the woods, and she's had her own Bigfoot experiences, and that's what kind of got us. Yeah, that's what got us together. So thanks, Bigfoot. You're a matchmaker.
there you go. There you go. I always like to see that when there are couples out there who are doing this together. Because I've been in a situation where I was with someone and they didn't want to do that. So it was it actually puts a strain on the relationship a little bit. So that's good that you have someone who wants to go out there and do that stuff with you and who's happy to be with you. So that's a good deal, man.
Well, I think that on your show we're gonna do a flip flop. So we're gonna be finding out what put a strain on your stuff. What got you? Did you have a sighting? Did you see Bigfoot? Did you experience Bigfoot? What happened?
Well, my whole life I've always been interested in like Bigfoot, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, other strange cryptids. I had a neighbor that I grew up with, and his dad worked with my dad actually. So we would always go to his house, and this guy had so many stories pertaining to all that stuff. And we would sit there and we would just be enthralled by his stories. We would get scared. We'd be afraid. We had to walk across the street to my house. We'd be afraid to cross the street. We would like run back across the street because this guy had so many stories, man. And so that's actually what got me interested in it. My dad was interested in the subject too. Anytime like a show like In Search Of would come on, we'd watch it, of course. Anything else would come up, he'd call us and say, "Hey, come on, check this out. This show's on." And then
Man,
I got to where I would check out books in the library. Wasn't very many, but the books that they did have, I would check them out and read them. Um, I remember having a book where it had like stuff about Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, all that stuff. It even had like human combustion in it. I remember that, where they showed
yeah,
the
that's creepy stuff. I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah. So I was enthralled. I was interested in all that stuff, and it just really, really just piqued my interest. And I didn't start going out until all the Bigfoot shows started coming out, and at that time I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But
I
I
don't
think
think
back,
anybody did. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, and I just was probably doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing, like letting my kids run out there, and not really uh, just aware of what else was out there. I knew we had hogs and bobcat and stuff like that, but I always feel you can kind of handle that situation better than what could really happen because I really didn't know all the stories that I had heard. You know, uh, once I heard those stories about what happens to people or what can happen to people and the missing people and uh, some of the old stories about the physical encounters with these creatures. So once I learned that, I was loop is out. Loop is on here. Yeah, once I heard those stories, I was like, man, I better pull the reins back a little bit on my kids.
that's my best man right there.
Yeah, man. Yes, he is. Good dude.
So you were out running around using the kids for bait.
Basically what I was doing. Yeah, you know.
I,
Uh,
you know what? Now that I think about it, I think that's what my cousin and Brandon and them were doing with me.
yeah, I'm sure they were. But yeah, man. One day we're walking out there, and it was me and my ex and my sister and her husband. We were out there walking. I had my kids with me that day, and it was funny that day we were walking down this trail, and the trail made a, a sharp right turn, and my youngest was way ahead of me. She's maybe 30, 35 feet in front of me. She had her earbuds in, and I heard some talking, like people were talking, and
Ooh.
I was yelling at her, "Hey, I was Nat, get over here," but she didn't hear me. I could still hear that talking. And so I yelled at her louder, and she stopped, turned around. She says, "What?" I said, "There's people coming. You're going to run right into them, when you turn that corner." I said, "You're going to run into them. Get over here with me." So she came back, and we walked to that corner, and there was nobody there. I was like, "What the heck was that?" You know? And then,
So,
was
let
that?
me stop you. What did it sound like a different language? Did it sound like just people murmuring or?
Yeah. It just sounded like people who were talking, and you always hear the thing that they were just far out of reach enough to where you couldn't
Yeah,
really hear what was going on. So I
because
couldn't
I've
tell you if
heard
they were
that.
speaking. Yeah, I couldn't tell you if they were speaking English or Russian or Chinese or any of that. I just heard people talking. It sounded like at least two people talking.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so we continue up the trail a little bit, and by this time my ex gets further up ahead of me, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on my kids, and my sister and my brother-in-law are behind me, and we're all kind of chit-chatting. And I see my ex kind of stand up on her tiptoes. She's trying to look over the brush because the brush is pretty tall. You know how the brush gets out there in the Sam Houston. She's kind
Mm-hmm.
of looking, and she waves to me, "Hey, come here, come here, come here." So I walk over there. I said, "What?" She says, "I saw something move over there behind this tree." And she points, so I'm looking over there. And as I look, I see like a flash of fur go from one tree to another, just real quick. And it was like that orangish reddish fur, you know?
Like a orangutan color.
Yeah. Oh yeah, almost like the orange tint to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, yeah. So I pointed. I said, yeah, I saw it. It was right there. She goes, no, not there. She pointed a little bit to the left of where I was pointing. And she goes, it was over here behind this tree. So, I'm 5'8", and my brother-in-law, he's a little bit shorter than I am. So I told my brother-in-law, hey, let's go walk over there. Let's see what we can find. And um, uh, we go up to this tree. We're looking around. We don't see anything. And so we come back, and I told my ex, I said, well, there's nothing over there. We didn't see anything. And she says, well, whatever I saw, she said it was taller than you because I couldn't even see you or Patrick, with all the brush. And she kind of did her hands like, if you and Patrick are this high, whatever it was up here. It was this high. And it was funny because I didn't ask her until like the next day. I said, okay, what did you see? She told me that she heard like a branch or limb snap. So she looked in that direction. And as she was scanning the wood line, she said that if it hadn't moved, she wouldn't have seen it. But it moved to the left behind the tree. And I asked her what it looked like. She said it was gray. And in that part of where I was at, there's been a gray one, which I didn't know anything about until I started.
I know where you were.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's funny because when I would talk to other people about it, and we talk off the air or in private, it's the same area where that gray one's been seen. And I just,
Yeah.
you know, um, so with man, I saw. I'm lucky that I went out and found this area on my own because to me, I don't like intruding on other people's stuff. And this is before I really knew anybody in the field. I didn't even know people were going out there. But then once I found out, like Lupe would tell me some stuff, and the Garrett's told me some stuff, and so I knew I was in a good area. So that's the area I kind of scope out every time I go out there. That's where I found 3-inch tracks and the 8-inch tracks I found last summer. I
Yeah.
had
You.
I had a stick thrown at me, but I say about 2016 and 2017 in November. I remember it was November 2017 because I went out there trying to clear my mind. It was right before Thanksgiving, and a rock bounced off the bill of my cap. You know, and
Oh wow. So
yeah,
it's just trying to get your attention or just kind of
right,
messing with you,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah,
Because if it was a boulder, it probably wouldn't have been such a good.
yeah. If I wouldn't have bounced off my cap,
It'd
would
have,
have bounced off my head.
it'd have bounced off your melon.
So yeah,
Now,
man.
were you alone at that time?
On that time, I was alone. Like I said, I went out there to clear my head. I was going through
Yeah.
some stuff, uh, and I went out there at the last minute. I was just actually taking a drive, and I drove out there. I didn't have a backpack with me, didn't have a gun with me, didn't have a bottle of water, nothing. you know, and
Broke all the rules.
broke all the rules. Yeah, and then that day I went out there uh, to another area. I really want to say, but it's got like a couple of ponds in that area, and I walked out behind the back. And dude, I got lost back there. I was actually on Facebook Live, and Lupe was on there. We were kind of chatting back and forth, and I lost
Yeah,
connection. And dude, I got twisted around back there that day. Like I said, I don't have anything with me, and
it's
I
easy.
just, yeah. And dude, I have been back there dozens and dozens of times, but for whatever reason, I got twisted. You know, and I'm just so lucky that I happened to look down at my phone. I said, "Man, I hope my maps work." And then I found the ponds and I got out. So it was
Yeah,
fine.
the thing about that is the woods never look the same. I don't care how many times you go in there. I mean,
Right.
all the seasons will change it. Trees will fall, and it's always moving, always changing. So it's, I mean, even though you've been out there 100 times, I mean, you can still get turned around.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you gotta be careful.
Yeah. And then the second weird thing that happened to me that I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but I rarely tell it because it's just such a weird story. But I'll let you and your listeners decide if I'm crazy or not. Um, so I was out there with a couple of guys, one being Shane and the other one being Armando, and he had his truck parked kind of on the side of the road and maybe just a little bit under some trees, but he wasn't completely under the trees. He was off the road enough to where cars could go by him. And we're sitting out there, we're at camp, and his truck gets hit with something. And it didn't sound like it was something that fell from the top. It sounded like he got hit from the side. And it just sounded like a side shot. And we looked all around his truck and inside the bed of his truck, make sure nothing fell inside. And so we walked out past this road, and there's like a little clearing, and then there's a pond over there. Um, he had this bright freaking flashlight. And as he was shining from his right to his left, right when the light got to a certain area, I saw two legs jump out of this light, and
Whoa!
it was two legs, dude. I'm telling you, it was two legs. Either it moved so fast, I didn't see a top half, or there wasn't a top half. I just didn't see a top half. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't see it, but I saw two brown hairy legs, very brown, very shaggy. Yeah,
Wow!
but I didn't see a top half. I don't like I said, I don't know if it freaked me out. Maybe that's a part of it, because it caught me completely off guard. But Armando and Shane didn't see it, but I was like, no, I saw it. I saw it. And these legs were big from the thighs down to the calves. They look like the same size.
Wow!
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like like a human, like it kind of taper off a little bit. Because even the biggest dude, the biggest bodybuilder, big thighs or whatever, his legs narrowed down to his calves and to his ankles. This thing, his legs are just as big as the thighs, is all the way down to his ankles.
Almost like a cartoon, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and it wasn't tall though. Whatever it was, it didn't have tall legs. They were short legs.
You
You know.
think it was a juvenile?
Yeah, I would think if that's what it was a juvenile because it wasn't big. Their legs probably weren't even taller than my legs, but they were definitely probably twice the size, easy, easy. But
Wow!
but that's something I don't talk about because I don't know. I just don't know what to say. And I don't know what to.
Well, I mean,
Speak for the devil over here. I was just talking about you, Shane. Yeah,
yeah.
I just don't know what to say. I don't talk about it, but it's something I saw. I know I saw it. So I don't
Yeah.
really make any claims about it.
Well, the good thing is you're getting the information out there because somebody else may have experienced the exact same thing you did.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if somebody else could validate, oh, I saw the same thing, or same thing happened to me,
Yeah.
and the legs looked exactly like you were talking about.
Hmm.
So there's always that,
Yeah.
because the one thing I noticed about doing my show is that when I um, started sharing my experiences, oh
Right.
man, it was like the floodgates just opened. I mean, I started getting, and there's people that were messaging me that I've known for years that I had no idea that they even experienced anything strange.
Right.
So you just never know, when you share stories like this. I mean, even though you're not 100% sure, or you can't really fill in the blanks, getting it out there is it's kind of important.
Right, right. And I think that's why I don't really talk about it, because there's a lot of blanks there, and I know that. You know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of blanks there, so I really don't publicize it too much. I've only told a few people.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I have some experiences that I don't really even talk about because they don't really make sense when they come out of my mouth. I mean, I
Yeah.
know what I saw, I know what was going on, but when I say it, it's just like, huh?
Yeah. Exactly, man. Exactly.
And
That goes.
yeah, I even say, hey, you know what? I saw this, but it doesn't make sense in my head.
Yeah.
This is what happened,
Yeah.
and so you never
Yeah.
know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. I think, and when you think about it, we live in a different time for people that lived, back in the 1800s to 1700s to 1600s. Can you imagine them trying to explain what they saw? You know?
Yeah, I mean, and they probably had weird names for them, or
Right.
people don't know what to, call them, or especially like early settlers when they started coming in and started having weird experiences. I mean, it just a matter if they had internet back then, we probably would already done solved the problem.
Right. Yeah, because they describe what they see as what they know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a bear man,
Yeah.
or it was a crazy bear.
Yeah.
I've
Or
heard I've heard that description.
or just a big hairy man. Yeah.
Yeah, or I think some of them were referring to them as hide behinds,
Okay.
where people were working on their log cabins, and there's something just standing there behind a tree. You can see its hand,
Hmm.
and it's just kind of peeks off, and they had to deal with that type of stuff. And um, yeah, there's all kinds of names for them,
Yeah.
so you just never know. So have you had any other experiences?
I've heard the footsteps. I was with my youngest one day, and we went out to another trail I had never been down, and she's the one to say, "Hey, Dad, do you hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hear it." And every time we would step, whatever it was stepping right with us.
Oh, you were getting paralleled, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And it sounded close. I just couldn't see it because that particular trail, the brush almost grows up over and around you,
Yeah.
and it's almost like a little tunnel. And
Oh, I know.
yeah, and we couldn't see it, but I got nervous and I told her, "Come on, let's go back." So we left, but I've had stuff like that happen. Hear the footsteps. Of course, the vocals. I hear this weird howling when we go out there from time to time. We don't hear it every time, but just weird howling, and uh, we've heard a scream out there. I was about to, with Shane, and we and him, we both stood up when we heard that. We were sitting down in our chairs, and uh, it was just us two out there by ourselves. And that night, I mean, we had branches popping, and we had wood knocks all the way around us. And that was one of the craziest nights I've ever experienced. I mean, just wood knocks, just everywhere, man, all the way around us. And I mean, even in the daytime, we heard wood knocks. It was just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it doesn't matter what time of day or at night. I mean, Sam, if we're talking about being out in the Sam, that's what
yeah,
we refer to it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You could be there in the middle. It could happen in the middle of the night. It could happen during the day. I mean, there's really no method to that madness. I
yeah,
mean, I've been out in the middle of the day and just hear weird stuff, and um, you especially when I tried to make when I don't know if you remember when I was trying to build this weird polybaric dish where I had them kind of facing each other, and it records in 360 degrees instead of in a where you're pointing it straight at something.
yeah.
um I had built that one day, and me and Bob were actually sitting at camp, and I hadn't even turned it on. And we just stopped talking and just started listening. And man, we were hearing all kinds of stuff. And it's like they know, man. As soon as you push record, they shut down, dude. And I was
Mhm.
like, man, I'm hearing it with my ears, but I push record and I'm not hearing nothing. So I mean, it's sometimes the recorder will pick something up, but a lot of times you hear it.
Right.
I mean, there's been times where I've been out there and I had the recorder on. I'm like, man, this is gonna be the best recording ever. And then I go home and play it, and I don't hear nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then sometimes I'll listen to some older audio and I'll pick something up. Holy shit, I didn't, I wish I listened to this a long time ago,
yeah,
Uh,
because
yeah.
you didn't know what to look for back then, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Shane actually sent me some audio here a few months back from one of a trip we took like 2 years ago. And he's like, dude, you can hear these footsteps, in the camp because I had an audio recorder sitting out there, you know, and
Wow.
yeah. And then I got a real good friend of mine. He goes out there and he records stuff all the time too, man. He's got some crazy recordings. He's got I don't know if I sent you that one about the owl. You can hear the owl go whoo whoo whoo, and then also you hear the whoo whoo whoo. It just
Oh, I don't think
yeah.
I got that one. I don't
I don't think
remember
it's
that.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll definitely share it with you. I'll send it to you.
Cool, man. Yeah, I like hearing weird stuff like that. Cause back when I started getting into it, I was doing a lot of audio stuff with the computer, but I was doing like music remixing and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I was trying to be a DJ or whatever, but or I would just redo a whole song and stuff. So I knew how to do that pretty well, and so then when people started sending me recordings asking me if I could enhance stuff, man, I started getting weird, creepy stuff, man. Now, there was one guy, I don't know if he wants me to say his name, but he's out in I think South Carolina. He
Mhm.
was sending me some recordings, and they sounded like whispering.
Okay.
And when I started enhancing them, it was like English, but the dialect was all wrong.
Hmm.
And we don't know what to make up. I don't think it was Bigfoot. I think it was more ghost stuff or
Okay.
whatever. And and then he would light up a cigarette and start smoking. And every time he did, like puff on it, it would like woo, like it was
Oh.
fascinated by
Oh
it. So
wow.
it might have been combination of stuff, different things going on. Because um, I mean, this dude he didn't care. He would go out in the middle of the night and then he would hang up glow sticks, and he was hardcore. But when I sent him back the enhanced audio,
Hmm.
he said, "I'm done. I ain't doing that no more."
Really?
Yeah, it creeped him out, and it was so weird because when I was doing it and I started hearing stuff, I called him like 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, bro, you got to hear this. He's like, bro, this can't wait till the morning. I'm like, no, this can't wait until the morning because I mean I got so into it that I just if I heard something I would call whoever did it. You gotta hear this. And then I had another lady that was sending me audio, and she said she lived out on a property by herself, but then I could hear like a little girl crying in the background, and I'm like, "You got any kids over there? And when was this when was this audio recorded?"
Hmm.
And she's like, "I don't know. Before I went to bed, I just turned it on and set it, on the porch."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Whoa, you got some ghost stuff or something going on." I don't know, just weird stuff. So
Yeah.
audio's pretty cool, and I'm still trying to do it. I don't get as many sent to me anymore, but man, for a while it was getting too weird. I was like, "What are y'all sending me?" Because I was into it, but it just seemed like it was going in a weird direction. Like I
Yeah.
was either hearing paranormal stuff or I don't know. There was one where there was a guy was in a boat dock and he was recording, and man, it sounded like King Kong yelling
Hmm.
off in the distance.
Wow.
But the recording is okay. You can hear it. But he said when he heard it, it was like in his chest.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so weird. So it was either so loud that it was peaking the microphone, which it didn't really sound like. Because you know what a peaking microphone, it just gets all staticky or whatever
Right. Yeah.
when it does that. But it didn't sound like it was doing it. It just sounded far away. But I guess it had a physical sound wave or something, where it just shot out and hit him. That was strange.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring up Shane's name again. He's in the chat room, so I want to kind of confirm this. We were out there one other time, and um, I tell people not to do this because I got a what I would call negative result. Um, someone told me to take a dog whistle. out there. So I went out there with this dog whistle, and I only blew on it maybe 4 or 5 times, and man, we got this growl back, and it was the weirdest freaking growl I've ever heard. I've never heard a growl like that since then. That's the only time I heard that growl, and it was me, Shane, and I think Ernie was out there with us. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
What do you think it was?
I've never whatever it was that growl. It was projected towards us in our direction. It wasn't like it was so loud that it filled up the forest. It went that growl went from point A to point B. Does that make
Almost like
sense?
almost like it was in a tube or something
Yeah,
pointed right at you.
yeah. It was definitely directed towards us. I would say. There goes Shane's comment. Says I was tripping. It
Are
was
you
it was
are you talking about Shane Church? Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I thought you were talking about the other guy, Shane. Was it Michaels or
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels? Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I get my Bolios confused. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that's who you were talking about. Yeah. So you don't think it was any sort of infrasound or something? Maybe a higher
Well,
frequency of
well,
infrasound,
well,
or
well, whatever this was, it was definitely deeper than I would say higher. Um, it
yeah, it
was,
would. I mean, if
you
you
know,
heard it, it was definitely higher.
yeah. It wasn't. I mean, it was very audible. I could say you could say that.
It was a higher frequency. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
did it have any effect on you guys? Did anybody get sick? Did anybody get dizzy?
Um, no, 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 no. We were
Just
no, we were good. We were kind of freaked out for a few seconds. We all kind of stared at each other and said, "What the hell was that?"
maybe that's what its goal was, to make you guys nervous.
Yeah, yeah. But
Kind of scary.
that was the only time I used that whistle, and I kept that thing in my truck for years after that, until I sold it. As a matter of fact, it was when I got my new truck. It was still in that truck, and I said, "I don't need that whistle no more."
So you would never do that again?
No, I don't think so. Because whatever it was didn't like it. I know that much. I said I only blown it like 4 or 5 times, and I got a response, and it wasn't a good
Right.
response. That I didn't think it was a good response. It was definitely aimed towards us. So
If you had to guess what it was, what would you say?
I'd have to say it was a squatch.
You think it
Uh,
was a squad?
yeah, I've talked to other people, and they think it may have been like a dog man.
That's kind of where I was going with it, but
Yeah,
you would know better because you were
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
that's
Well,
why I
like I
didn't.
said, I don't know what made that sound, but I've never heard that before. Never. Just like sometimes when people are like, "Well, those moans you hear, they're just cows." I've heard cows 100 times. You know, uh,
Yeah.
I've never heard a cow moans like some of these moans that I've heard. And
Yeah, and I mean, usually when you go out, it's a good idea to kind of get an idea of the environment, how far a cow, because a moo or whatever would
yeah,
travel a good,
yeah,
especially a good distance. So if
yeah,
you,
yeah. See,
but out there in the sand, there's all people dump animals all over the place out there. I mean, Bob's told me stories where he was walking and a horse walked up on him.
yeah, dude,
Somebody just dumped a horse.
dude. I was out there one time, and I was nowhere near the trail. I was off trail. I was in a deep, thick part. I was trying to make my way through these damn brushes, and a freaking donkey he hauled at me. You talk about getting scared.
Oh
That
yeah,
scared. Them things are loud, man. He was only maybe like 40 feet from me. Dude, that was loud. I was like, holy shit. 'Cause when he first hits you, it's like, what the hell is that? It takes you like half a second to figure it out what it is. And he did,
yeah.
you know.
When you're not expecting a donkey to be out in the middle of the
Yeah,
woods. So
yeah,
when he starts sounding off, you're kind of like,
yeah,
what was that?
yeah,
That's got to be creepy.
yeah. A freaking donkey, man. Yeah.
You ever heard a cougar out there scream?
No, no.
Well, I had one happen. Did it at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I think.
Mhm.
And the boys were making fun of me because I was ready to go home. I was like, "Nah, I don't know what the hell that is. I'm ready to go in there. Like, relax. It's just a cougar.
It's just a cougar.
Just a cougar." I'm like, "Wait a minute, just a cougar? Can't those things eat you?" Oh, they're not gonna eat us. They're gonna eat somebody slow.
Yeah. There you go. They can't really kill you. They can maul you, but not really kill you.
They're gonna eat our bait. They're not gonna eat us.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, man, that's weird. I think some of the stuff that happens out there is paranormal. Also, that same friend that got that owl sound, he's also got this one, and you can clearly hear something go nope, nope. Just says nope. It's a clear nope. He heard something go burr, just like that, burr. Yeah.
Ooh. Well, what do you think about the Squatches imitating stuff that they've heard, like people yelling and stuff like that?
I think they do it. I think I've heard enough reports of them doing stuff like that they do it. You know, I don't know exactly why they do it, or if there's a reason for them doing it other than just doing it. But I've heard reports of them doing it. And, some people feel like they were being drawn in. You get that too. But it just makes me wonder if they're just do it. Sometimes just do it because I've heard people say that they've heard them imitate chickens and ducks, and what's the point in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain people hearing like car door slam in the middle of the woods when there's no parking lot?
Okay, it's funny you said that. You know my son. You met my son.
Yeah.
We were out there one time, and I was up ahead on the trail, and there was a big tree. It had fallen. It was sticking up out of the ground. So I'm walking up this tree, just to be silly. And as I'm going almost to the top, he's like, "Hey, Dad." And I said, "What?" He says, "I heard like a car door slam over here." And I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, there was like a car door slam. That's what it sounded like." Um, but I didn't hear it. But I went back maybe a month or so later, and I heard the same thing. And it sounded like a car door slam. It sounded like there was a car in the woods and someone slammed the door. You know. So I don't
Wow.
know. I don't know what the heck that what can make that sound. You know. But that's what I heard too. And he's like, he heard it too.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, people hear all kind of crazy stuff out there. Have you ever seen the lights?
I've never seen the lights. Never
No.
seen no. The only thing I've seen are lightning bugs, but that's about it.
Yeah, the lights are creepy, man. Trust me. I'm gonna have to try to. We gotta hook up one night and just ride out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's birds that make creepy noise, make like mockingbirds, or even somebody's parrot might have got loose. There's always a possibility.
Hey Roman, would you know what bird can sound like a car door? Just by for people who don't know, there's a gentleman named Roman commenting in the chat. He says that birds can mimic everything and electronic sounds and car doors. I know about the electronic sounds.
I
Uh,
think can't ravens do that? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Or
oh,
what's
I'm
that
sorry,
other?
Roman. You're a woman. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Where is
I,
that?
I think that's Brian.
Yeah, he was buddies with Smokey.
Hmm.
Why does it say Facebook user?
Because he probably didn't get permission to use his name.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you gotta make your Facebook payments or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my first trip to Falk, that's where I met Brian, and he actually took me to the Crabtree property, and I got
Yeah,
to go.
he does that tour like for
Yeah.
his buddies. He did
Yeah.
that for us too. We drove around. He checked out everything. That was
Mhm.
pretty fun. Then he
You,
took us.
so
Was that?
you've been to the Crabtree property?
No, I think we just went around to where the movie was filmed and
Okay.
all the
Yeah.
different locations.
The Ford House, right?
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
went to check that out.
Yeah.
Um,
I got to see the skeleton.
did you?
Yeah, I sure did.
What did you think about it?
It was freaky, and it still stunk. It
That's what
still.
I heard. I need to go see it. I never I haven't got to see it yet. They
I
still
know when.
got it?
I'm sure they do, but I know when I went, it was ready. I guess Crabtree's widow was ready at the point to where she wasn't letting anybody else go on there. So I may have been one of the last to go, if not the last. So
Hmm.
Brian, I always thank you for that, man. Every time I talk about that, I always, man, Brian hooked me up. He hooked me up really good. You know,
Yeah, he knows that area. He knows everybody. We went out and got hamburgers. They were really good hamburgers. I think it's called Allen's Hamburgers. I could be wrong. I don't remember.
she was talking about all the
Raven
July.
McKinley.
Okay.
I'm sure they, if they can hear it, they can mimic it.
He said Fran doesn't live there anymore. I guess that's the widow.
Oh, okay.
And then he said, "Yep, maybe the last to go." So I was honored by that. And Smokey, he himself was just an amazing person. I'd like to get Brian on here one day to talk about him. Smokey had so many accomplishments in his own personal life. He was a hell of a fisherman.
Was he?
Yeah, but he had all kinds of stuffed animals in his. I don't know if it was the garage or his building, whatever it was. I mean, he had snapping turtles and hogs and a big snapping turtle. One of the biggest snapping turtles I've ever seen. He was huge. Uh,
Huh.
yeah, there was like this tournament, this fishing tournament. What's those called? Those little boats, pea boats, I think. Brian, what's that little boat that he was in? He was in this little bitty boat, and all these other people were in these big vessels out there, and he won the fishing tournament. I forgot
With
what they
his
were.
little,
Yeah,
with
I
his
forgot.
little boat.
Yeah, I forgot what little boat they were in. Yeah, but
That's cool, man.
yeah, he was like a boxer. I think it was Golden Gloves boxer. A champion. He was a merchant marine. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I think he was like a. There he goes. A pyro. I think that's what you call it. I don't know how you really pronounce it. He says pyro. That's what Lupus says. But yeah, I know he was like some kind of a welder. Oh, there he goes. He'll tell you what he caught. It was something like a 150, 200 pound alligator gar. And his little,
Wow.
yeah, and his little bitty boat. Everybody else was out there on these big boats.
He knew what kind of bait to use and
Yeah,
everything. He knew
he
that
just
place.
he probably just went noodling knowing him. He was the original outdoorsman, the original survivalman. You know,
Wow. That's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's cool. You got to meet him. I didn't get to meet him. I think.
Well, I
I
didn't meet him
didn't.
either. I didn't meet him either. I just went out to his property. I think
Oh,
he,
okay.
yeah,
I
I
thought
think
you.
I think I think he had just passed away prior to that.
Yeah, because I think it wasn't too long after he passed away before I got out there.
Okay.
But yeah, Brian jumped in the. We had a truck and he jumped around, showed us around, showed us where different parts were filmed and everything. So it was pretty cool.
So he had a gigantic treble hook.
Sweet. Yeah, you kind of need that big hook.
Yeah, yeah, man. What about
So
you, man? What kind of weird experiences have you had other than what you talked about already?
other than Bigfoot,
Yeah,
well, I
and the
didn't know.
lights. Yeah,
Well, you're talking about out in the woods.
right.
I got a good one for you. There was one time me and Bob and Travis, we were we were doing recordings. When we do these, we just go park somewhere like off far away from everybody, and we'll sit out probably either all night or good couple hours till somebody gets tired or whatever. So we all agree to leave, pretty much. And there was this one time that weird parabolic mic setup I was telling you I had.
Hmm.
I wanted to use it, so we went out to this one spot and we parked somewhere, and we set up this recorder kind of far away from where we were at. And we walked back, we sat down, we had some lawn chairs with us, and Bob stayed in the truck. And we were hearing coyotes and all kinds of stuff. We were just looking up in the air, checking out the sky. You can see satellites flying over.
Hmm.
Well, as I'm looking up, this light comes straight down from the sky. And it's so weird. It was like a weird sci-fi movie, like one of them old school cheesy sci-fi movies where they shoot a laser, but it looks like a block, and you can see the edge of it and everything. So this comes down and it hits the ground, and when it does, the whole forest lights up, the whole place, and then it sucks right back up. And Bob thought that I was trying to take a picture of him because I used to always be sneaky and try to catch him either sleeping or doing something, just messing with him all the time. And and I'm sitting here like, and Travis didn't see it come down, but he saw it go go back up because it was so weird. It just came down, lit everything up, and then went back up.
Hmm.
Well, he saw it when it went back up, and then we're kind of just sitting there like, what was that? And then Bob starts, quit messing around with me. Just leave me alone. Quit taking pictures of me. I don't appreciate. He's getting all mad. We're like, Bob, we didn't take no pictures of you. Did you see that? And he's like, see what? I just y'all kids always messing with me. Grouchy old man style. So yeah, that was a weird experience that happened out there. I mean, when it lit up all the woods. It was really strange. There was like no shadows, and you could see. It was I don't know. It was just crazy. You could see every detail in the woods. No shadows.
Hmm.
It lit up the whole woods, and it was only for like a couple seconds.
Hmm.
And I have no idea what it was. I've talked to a couple other people. I've talked to people on UFOs and all that stuff. Nobody's had anything happen to them like that. And see, I would have just brushed it off if I was the only one there. But Travis saw it, and well, Bob kind of saw it. He was either looking at his phone or getting a little shut eye.
Hmm.
Because he just kind of went out just because of me. I was like
Right.
he kind of really didn't want to go, but he didn't want. He was like, all right, well, let's just go for a couple hours or whatever.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was one of my weird experiences out there.
Hmm. With
So if anybody else seen anything like that, please let me know.
I'll tell you about my UFO experience real quick. But Brian talked about this. I guess he's talking about the vocals. Says his Smokey Crabtree, his researchers suggest, I guess, when they're young, they sound like a kitten when close, a young goat when they're further back, a dog hung up in the fence, a young night owl trying to master its voice. And at the fourth step, the Bigfoot is typically farther back out of shotgun range. And then the fifth one is holler or bellow out like a loud elephant. That's
Is
it.
he talking?
He's
Is he
talking
talking
about,
about a recording?
I guess, about Smokey's research. About what he's, I guess, at different stages. That's what I'm getting from this different stages, maybe of the Bigfoot's life. As they're growing, is
Hmm.
or maybe that was that when they're closer, or when they're closer to you, they sound like a young kitten when they're close, and then as you get further back, it's like a dog hung up in the fence, and then a young
Oh,
night
he's talking
different.
about the stages of the sounds.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting. But
Cool.
yeah, my only yeah, Bigfoot mimicking. Okay, so my only UFO experience was I was out fishing in Galveston. I was on a seawall, there along the jetties actually, and the person I was with, I don't want to say his name because we don't talk anymore. Uh, he points. He was maybe 60 feet down. When you fish on the surf, it's easy for the lines to get crossed. Um,
Yeah.
and so I was casting out, and he goes, "Hey Joe, look up there," and he points up and to my left. So I look up, and we see this round disc. I mean, it's maybe 300 feet above us. And it's just slowly, slowly. I mean, ever so slowly moving across the sky. No sound, no lights. It was a clear night that night. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I don't know how bright the moon was, but the moon was definitely bright that night. Um, I mean, you could see clearly in the sky. Like I said, maybe 300 feet from us. And we were maybe a couple miles from the airport, that little landing strip. And when those planes were coming in, you could hear those planes coming in, even though you could barely hear them. You could still hear them. And this thing was
Yeah.
right up, was literally right above us, and just moved so slowly. And we probably watched this thing for 5 minutes. That's how slow it was going moved from our left to its, to our right until it got out of sight. But it was, I mean, it just looked like almost like a frisbee shape that was turned upside down. That's what it looked like. There was some black and gray to it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And no lights.
No lights, and just so smooth, like it was like on rails or something. There was no shaking because I've heard people talk about that they've kind of seen it kind of shake a little bit. This thing wasn't shaking at all. It was just moving so slow. I don't know how it stayed up in the sky as slow as it was
Well,
moving.
like the wind or nothing was affecting it.
Just like it was on rails or something. Just coasting along. And
Wow.
and whatever, like I said, whatever it was to me, it was moving too slow to stay in the sky. You know,
Yeah, like any of our stuff would have fell out, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So this
So
thing was like in hover mode.
yeah, yeah, and it never changed its speed. I don't know what happened when it got out of sight, but that's exactly what it did. And I was wondering, man, I hope I don't get beamed up, and probed.
Whoa, you don't want that.
I don't want to get
So you
probed.
don't think it was a drone or anything, or well, they got lights on drones. I mean, if you're
If you're asking me if it was like military stuff, I don't think it was necessarily our stuff. Now, if it
okay,
was a drone for them, it could have been a drone for them because
yeah, you
it was it wasn't huge. It was probably a little bit bigger than like a small airplane, like
oh, okay,
like those little bitty personal planes that people use with the single props. It was maybe a little bit bigger than that in diameter, but not much bigger. You know, yeah.
like
It
a
wasn't a
small.
yeah, it wasn't a big vessel, a big ship. That's for sure. You know,
Yeah, and plus it was a drone. You can hear the propellers. You can
yeah,
hear the buzz
yeah,
of the. And then I
yeah,
think if it's a big enough, I think you gotta have lights on it. That's
yeah.
interesting, man.
So was it ours? I don't know for sure because Ellington Field is right up the road, basically. You know, this is Ellington Field.
Yeah.
People don't know that is a military base.
And see, you definitely can't fly no drone around that area
Right.
because you're in the flight zone. So
Yeah. Even if you are military, I guess you would have to clear it with the airport. Hey, we got a low flying whatever we're going to be running tonight. Make sure
yeah, yeah.
your people are aware of it.
Now it didn't affect your fishing, did
No, I don't catch anything anyway, so no.
it?
Yeah. I
So it
just
wouldn't.
I go out there and I just feed the fish. That's what I do.
You feed them with your bait.
Yeah, I just feed them.
Yeah, I don't really have the patience for that fishing. I mean, my dad was a big fisherman, but it didn't catch on to me.
I used to go almost every weekend.
He'd like, hey, we're going fishing. I was like,
Mhm.
I don't want to go.
Yeah. And I would go like late at night, early in the morning. You know
And you catch nothing, not even accidentally. Catch a
that.
food or something.
No, I didn't catch anything. I don't think that night. Yeah, I don't think we caught anything that night.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
but
maybe it did affect you. Maybe that was the night you were gonna get
the big one.
the big one, and
Yeah, yeah. But those were the good old days, man.
I hear you. So, how about some ghosties? You seen any ghosties or had any?
In the house that I used to live in, uh, when I was married, we had a lot of paranormal activity out there, in there. Um, we had moved in that house and we weren't even there a week. I was laying in bed and I felt like something got on the bed. I thought it was my dog because I had a boxer, and he's not supposed to be in the room. So I was gonna get up and tell him to get off the bed, and uh, there was nobody there or nothing there. But I felt the bed go down like someone sat in it. And then maybe like the next week, I felt it again, and everybody was in the kitchen. I mean, everybody, my ex and my kids. So I go in there and I say, "Hey, I think this place is haunted." Yeah, they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." So right away, stories. Everyone had a story. By this time,
Really?
yeah. By this time, we hadn't even been in the house 2 weeks. My daughter was like, "Yeah, there was their closet in their bedroom. Is it kind of had the accordion doors, open to the right and to the left, and then come back together in the middle. Um, so it wasn't deep. It was real shallow, a few feet, deep, just wide enough to hang clothes, really. And
Yeah.
but it was real long, and there wasn't a light in there. There wasn't no need for a light because the whole thing opened up, and the bedroom light itself was enough. But she said that the closet was open one night, and she saw a flash come out of it, like someone had took a picture. Yeah, like someone had took a picture. And then We went kind of went around the table and people were talking about people, my kids, like there were just people there, right?
Yeah,
My
I was like, what kind of house you running there?
so yeah, my other two kids were like, yeah, I heard footsteps. I didn't know where it was coming from. Um, just weird stuff like that. And as we started living there more and more, um, we all heard the footsteps, and it sounded like someone in boots, walking in the house, and even the dog, he would like get up and just like not really run, but like dogs kind of trot real fast from one room to the next. That's what he would
Mhm.
do. He would do that. He would go like to the kids' room, then to our room in the back, and then come back to the living room. And he had this look on his face like, I know there's something here.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. He would do that from time to time. And so as time went on, um, my daughter, I was watching TV. It was late at night. It was like midnight one night. I was watching TV, and she comes out of her room. She goes, "Dad, there's something in my room." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "There's something like a dark figure standing in the corner of my room," and it went from one side of the room to the other side. So
Oh,
I had a
kind of like that one standing over me. What is
yeah,
that? Where's that? Right here? There's the
yeah.
head.
Here you go. It'd be so funny that thing moved.
Oh, dude. I jump out the window. I'm in the second story. But anyway, you were saying shadow, man.
So
That's creepy.
yeah, so she said it moved from one side of the room to the other side, and that's when she came and got me. And so I told my son Jacob, I said, "Hey, go get my recorder," because by this time I had a recorder for when I want to go out to the woods. And I told Jacob, "Hey, go get my recorder. Make sure the battery's still good, and we'll go in there. We'll do an EVP session." I had never done a damn EVP session in my life, so um, he goes to my room, gets the recorder. I don't pay attention, but him and my youngest go into the bedroom. My daughter's bedroom. My girls share their room. They go into the room, and he comes out. He is white as a ghost. He's like, "Dad, you gotta hear this." So we're all huddled around, and I still have that EVP. I'll send it to you too. And he plays it, and it says, and he asks, "Is there anybody here with us?" And you hear a voice go, "Yeah," just like that.
I think I remember that. I think you
Okay.
didn't you share that a while
Yeah,
back?
yeah, yeah. I may have sent it to you and to Lupe before, probably back when that happened. You know.
Yeah, and I was like, hey man, you know me, I don't.
Yeah, and there was, and I'm here to tell you there was nobody in that room with him. But the funny part is my daughter had her iPhone and she was recording, but her phone didn't pick anything up. Jacob's
Oh,
recorder, my recorder picked it up. But it's clear. Is anybody here with us? Yeah, you know. So I went in there with my phone. I know there's a lot of information out there about if orbs are real or orbs aren't real, if they're dust or insects. I'm here to tell you that house was clean as far as insects go, and you could see these little orbs just whizzing around the room, and they weren't just like going from one side of your screen real slow to the other. I mean, they were like making turns, sharp turns. And I don't know what the heck that was, but I got plenty of video of that, and the AC wasn't even on, so it couldn't have been dust blowing around. Not to say dust doesn't float around. I'm sure it does, but I just don't think that's what it was. I think these were orbs.
wow.
Yeah, and so shortly after that, um, it was a Monday night game. The Texans were playing in San Diego, so it was a late game for us here in Houston. And we I stayed up and watched the game, and at the time, I was going through issues, whatever, with my marriage. So my ex went to go lay down, and uh, after the game was over, I watched ESPN for a while and looking at the highlights and see what they're going to say about the Texans, because that year was supposed to be like the year for them, right? Which we all know how that goes. And so uh, we uh, I went into the bedroom, and she's sitting there on the edge of the bed. She got the covers over her head, sitting down, all huddled up. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And uh, she says, well, uh, there were issues with her parents. That's the whole reason why we moved over there, because it was across the street from her parents.
Oh,
And uh, she came in to lay down. She was feeling bad, kind of depressed a little bit, I guess. And she says something laid down in the bed next to her and put their arm around her and said, "Everything's gonna be okay, Mija." She heard the voice. which people don't know what that means. It's like saying everything's gonna be okay, baby. Mija's like a term of endearment, you know. Yeah, but she heard that voice audibly, heard it out loud, and
Whoa.
that freaked her the hell out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then so shortly after that, you know, I wind up, you know, leaving or whatever. And when I left there, man, I had like hog meat and duck and squirrel and rabbit in the deep freezer. And where I was at, I didn't have any room for a deep freezer. So my daughter was like, "Dad, I'm gonna start cooking this stuff." So yeah, cook it, whatever, cook it. So she cooked some duck, and she called me up, said, "Hey, come over because I made some duck tacos. You ain't gotta tell me twice. I'll be there, you know." And so I went over there, and when I got there, um, she's like, "Hey," because at this time her now fiance, her then boyfriend, was living there, and she goes, "We were telling Cameron about all the stuff that goes on." I didn't mean to say his name, but she said we're telling about everything that was going on, and he didn't, he doesn't believe in this stuff. And we were telling him, dude, the shower would come on, the sink would come on, the shower in the bedroom. It was one of those showers. They had the knob. You had to pull it out and then twist it right or left for hot or cold water. You know what I'm saying? So the shower would come on. So that took some force to pull that knob out. You know, it was like a big knob, probably about the size of a softball, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and you had to pull it out, turn the shower. So if you can explain to me how that shower head came on, I'll be happy to accept it. You know.
I mean, it would have to be a lot of pressure in the pipes, or I guess I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And we were talking about how the sink would come on too. And he was like, just kind of looking at us, shaking his head, like, I don't believe in that stuff. And right on cue, the kitchen sink comes on. I mean, we're standing right there in the kitchen too. The kitchen table's right there. The sink's right behind us. The sink comes on. Shh. And we all just turn around and stare at the sink. And he looks at us. He walks over there. He turns it off. And he's looking around. You know, and he's like, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know how y'all did that, but
Yeah. He thought we did something. He thought he was thinking that we did something to him. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, that's not what happened. And we had so shortly after that, you know, my son's in the military. He came home on leave, and he stayed there. Him and his wife and his baby, and they're laying in bed. And he says the bedroom door starts shaking, like somebody wants to come in. You know, like somebody wants to come in. They're shaking the bedroom door, and he's like, he sits up in the bed and he looks out the window and he sees that the cars are gone. So, you know, there's nobody there because the other, you know, my ex and the guy she's with, they were gone. They went to work. He's like, well, nobody's here, and he's looking at the door, and it stopped shaking. And even my grandson, who at the time he was 3, he sat up and he looks at my son. He goes, "Daddy," like, you know, he knew something was wrong. So Jacob grabs his AR, he loads it up, chambers around, man, and he points it at the door, and the door starts shaking again. You know, and he tells, you know, Eli, you know, my grandson, "Hey, get with your mom, get with your mom." So he curls up next to her and in the bed, and he opens the front door, and he does his military thing. He clears the house, is what he said. You know, I cleared the house. Yeah, all the doors are locked. It's got burglar bars on all the doors. All the burglar bars need a key to open and close it. You know. So, and the funny thing, the back door and the side door, they've got like this bracket, this metal bar that goes across it, so nobody can come in and out. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. He showed me. He shook the door, my door. He goes, "Dad, this is how hard it was shaking." He shook the heck out of it, you know. And he was like, "This is how hard it was shaking."
So you didn't get no history of the house or nothing?
The owners who had it before we moved in were the only owners of this house. They bought it like in the 40s. They died when they were like in their 90s. This is built like right
in the house.
No. They both wind up going to the hospital or hospice, you know, to pass away.
Okay.
But they were the only owners of this house. You know, and she says, one of our people in the chat room says, our loved ones are always around us. I'm gonna get to that here in a second. So
don't sound like a loved one to me.
So they were the only owners. So we kind of suspected it was them because also we had to remodel the restroom and part of the hallway. And it was actually my cousin that came and did the work. So my cousin's standing there, and he's telling us this is like the night before they start work. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna fix it like this. We're gonna take care of this and take care of that. Well, he picks up his arm and he looks at his arm, like at his forearm area, and he kind of grabs it. And he's looking down at his arm, and he looks over at my other cousin, like, like you are you messing with me? Are you touching me? But he's not saying nothing. He's just giving that look. And you can also tell that he's kind of looking at my cousin like, man, you're kind of far away to be grabbing on me.
He's trying to figure it out, trying to
Yeah,
work it out.
yeah, something was happening to his arm, and he was trying to figure it out. And it was funny. As soon as we saw him do that, me and my family were all looking at each other. We just all started staring at each other, making eye contact, like something's happening. No, to my cousin. And so he starts talking again. He's continuing with his little speech about what he's going to do. And he picks up his arm again, and he's looking at it. He looks at my cousin. He looks at my other cousin. He goes, man, what are you doing, man? He says, what do you mean? He goes, I feel like someone's grabbing my arm. He goes, is that you? He goes, dude, I'm way over here. I can't even reach you. I'm way over here. And besides that, if my other cousin had moved, he would have seen him out of his periphery because we were standing in the kitchen. It wasn't like there was any obstacles in the way where he could sneak around. And he's like, and he tells me, because dude, it feels like something's grabbing my arm. So he grabs my arm and he squeezes it. He squeezes it real tight and says, "This is how it feels. This is how my arm feels. I feel like someone's squeezing the hell out of it." And he was squeezing my arm really, really tight. And so the next day when he came into start his job, we were getting ready to go to work in the morning, and we were going to leave him there in the house, him and my other cousins, the whole crew. He shows me his arm, and on his arm are fingerprints, bruises.
Oh wow!
Yes, dude.
Now he was talking about remodeling the house or something.
Yes, that's exactly what he was talking about.
They might not have been happy with that.
Yeah. Like that. And that's exactly what
I've heard stories that when people start remodeling or redoing stuff, that stuff gets worse. It gets crazy.
Yeah, it didn't get worse. I still think that they wanted him to remodel the house. I think they wanted him to leave it alone.
Oh, yeah, they didn't want him.
Yeah, but it was funny because it took him like 2 weeks to finish the job. But he said every day when he would come in, he would wait for the other guys to get there, and then he would wait for my dog, to come to the door before he went in. Because dude, I wasn't going in your house by myself.
Yeah, he ain't doing that.
Yeah, it was funny. And then he said anytime he had to walk from the back, because everyone was the restroom and the hallway was in the back of the house, so we had to walk to the front. He said, man, he did it in a hurry. We had to walk to the kitchen and the living room.
Yeah,
he was moving. he wasn't taking his time strolling around, man.
Yeah, he wasn't liking that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty freaky, dude.
Yeah, but when she was saying that there was a loved one or ever, I think my dad was there because he was me and him were really, really close, and he at that time I was going through all that, all my issues and stuff. And I think he was around. And even when I moved to San Antonio, y'all know you remember that when I moved, or did you even know I was in San Antonio?
Yeah.
In that area. I think he even followed me there. I was in a 2-story apartment or a townhouse, and I was upstairs, and I was leaning over it wasn't like a railing, it was more like a wall that you could lean over, and it had a light switch up top and a light switch on the bottom. So we wanted to turn the light up top. If you were at the bottom, just flip the light switch on the bottom, and then the light upstairs would come on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you were downstairs, I'll turn the light up upstairs. So I was yelling down at my daughter to pick something up, and I heard the light switch right by my ear flick on, and the light came on right next to me. Yeah. And,
wow.
And I don't know why, but I just thought that was my dad. I just figured it was my dad, and I spent almost a year there, and I came back. And when I came back to Houston, I was at my mom's house, and we were talking about my dad, and I said, yeah, I said, I think Dad's around from time to time, and I said, man, it took me a long time to get over these issues, and I said, I think that's why he was around, just to kind of see me through these. And as we're talking about it, and I was telling her about the light switch in San Antonio. Well, not that I was in San Antonio, but anyway, the light switch in the kitchen comes on, and me and her both look at each other, and we both heard the flick of the switch. You know what it sounds like when you flick that little light switch? It was the same sound.
Yeah, so it's not like a short in the
and
it's something physically. push that switch up.
Yeah, and the light came on, and we just kind of looked at each other, and we just started kind of laughing. But I think that was like the last time that I would say that I felt him around. That's when I
Maybe.
started. Yeah, that's when I started
Yeah, I mean,
getting my head
sometimes
cleared.
it doesn't really haunt the house, and sometimes it'll haunt the person.
Right? Yeah.
Latch onto your energy. Now, I mean, the grabbing of the door handle, that might have been something else. I mean, I doubt Grandpa would want to scare the crap out of his grandkids enough to
Yeah.
pull a weapon.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So they
And
may.
the thing about that house is, even though that sounds aggressive, I don't know if it was necessarily aggressive or if it was necessarily um, had bad intent or was malicious in its intent, because I think it just wanted attention. That's what Now, one night I did wake up in the middle of the night. Okay, like I said, my dog wasn't allowed in our room, and he knew that, right? I mean, he would come all the way to the door of our bedroom, and you could call him, and he wouldn't come because he was like, "Nah, these guys are messing with me."
I'm
And
gonna get a.
yeah, he knew he was gonna get it. Hey, thanks, Jessica. I appreciate that. Um, so in the middle of the night, I woke up and I saw this dark figure standing right there next to me, and it was between the wall and the bed, and the window was right behind it. And when I saw it, I kind of stared at it for like maybe 2 seconds at the most, and it moved towards me. And when it moved towards me, I threw a kick, and I said, "Get away from me, mother!" Whatever I said. And as soon as I kicked and I came down, here comes my dog come running into the room. So he was already coming into the room when that happened. So
Oh wow!
yeah, and then that figure just disappeared. It just vanished. So that was a weird night for sure.
So do you think there was multiple things going on, or
This figure, it had a woman's shape. It looked like a woman. It almost looked like a woman in a dress. It was, but it was solid black, and that's exactly what it looked like. But it looked like a woman in a dress. So I wonder if that was the lady. And like I said, she moved towards me, and it was more me who got scared. Now that I think about that and I replay that event, it was more me that got scared. It was more me that freaked out than I think that figure was actually trying to scare me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. Who knows
Yeah.
what the intent was?
Because if it wanted to do anything to me, it had me. I wasn't going to stop it, with a kick, because I went right through it.
Well, I mean, you may be the first guy who did karate on a ghost.
Yeah, kung fu.
Yeah,
All my
I don't
years.
know. I never heard that before.
Yeah,
So
yeah. All my years in the Shaolin Temple paid off.
well, there you go.
Yeah,
Did a little kung fu on a ghost,
yeah. It
and
was
it
pretty.
seemed to work.
Yeah, it went away.
And see that's the rules that I have with ghosts. If I can't punch it, shoot it, or stab it, I don't want nothing to do with it. So you kind of proved a little point there by doing a karate kick on one or a Shaolin kick on it. That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but yeah, that was definitely a crazy place to live at. But like I said, it was nothing really scary. It was nothing really, evil. I would
See,
say.
yeah, you didn't have that sinister feeling where
Like we were in jeopardy.
like blood dripping from the walls
Yeah,
and
we hear no
things
voice
on.
or hear voices say "Get out."
You
And
gotta
then,
tell me twice. Just start
yeah,
packing up.
I don't know why people stay when they hear stuff like that.
Get out. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later. I just stopping by.
Yeah.
I was gonna live here, but not no more. Yeah, so when you moved to that house, did people say, "Hey, the people that used to live here died," and
No, I mean they were the original owners. The people that we bought the house from was their kids.
okay,
So
but the parents had already passed.
right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they
Yeah,
had
but
passed away,
they died in the hospital or
or the
some
hospice. Yeah, yeah.
or another place. But, well,
Hmm.
that is strange. Maybe I mean maybe it could have been them and your pops. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was funny because when I was talking to someone about that, uh, we were just talking. I hadn't even mentioned the footsteps, and they were like, "Do you hear heavy boots in your house?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You see, and he asked me, he goes, "Do you think that's your dad?" I had never mentioned any of that to him. Yeah. So
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny that story that you just told about the sitting down on the bed. I don't know if you heard one of my episodes on the random show that I did where I talk about grandma after she
Mhm.
had passed away.
Yeah.
Someone would come sit on my bed and rub my
Right.
back because
Right.
I would lay there thinking about how I miss her and how I'm probably never gonna see
Yeah.
her. And, just thinking about her real hard, and then someone would sit down on the bed, and of course I'd be like freaked out, and then I'd start crying,
Yeah.
and finally I'd get the brave enough to yell out my dad's name, and he'd come in. He was, I mean, I'd probably drove him crazy. I'd be, always yelling his name in the middle of the night, and he'd come check. Oh, what now? Oh, um, yeah. So I would yell out his name, and then after I shared that story,
Hmm.
um, I had other family members, like you said, talk about experiences that they had in
Yeah.
that house.
Yeah.
They thought they were the only one. They felt alone because they couldn't talk about it to
Mhm.
anyone. But when I'm sitting there, spilling my guts about, my grandma rubbing my back and stuff, and then one of them starts talking about they would see these orbs going up and down the hallway at that house, and I've never seen that there. But and then my mom, there's another episode where I talk about my mom seeing lights, but not at that house. She was, she went to her aunt's house, and her aunt was going through a lot of, problems with her, husband or man or boyfriend. I don't know how they did it back then, but she would see these orbs going up and down her, or going down the hallway into her room, and my mom had no idea what that was. And I remember my mom talking about some lights, and then I recently asked her, and then that's when I told the story. Also, some lady was trying to hook her up with her son, and my mom said she wasn't attracted to that guy at all.
Hmm.
So then that lady would make canned peaches or whatever jar, where they put them in jars, I guess.
Okay.
And so she came with two of them, and she said, "This one is for y'all, and then this one is specially for your mom, for my mom.
Hmm.
Nobody can have these peaches. These are for her." And my
Okay.
mom and my grandma was like, okay, kind of like suspicious. I mean, that sounds suspicious. Anybody
Right.
with common sense would be like, why can't nobody eat these peaches, but they can eat these? So she put them up on the shelf, and she left both of them there. And she said by the end of the week, the one that was for my mom had turned black, and
Hmm.
there was worms in there.
Okay.
And so my mom believes that that lady was trying to do some sort of brujeria on her, where she
Yeah.
would fall in love with her son.
Huh.
But luckily that my grandma was smart enough to like say, you're not eating these. And my mom was like, "Well, I don't like peaches anyway." Okay. So
That's funny. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean that's stuff that happened way back. My mom was like a little girl, and my
Right.
mom's gonna be 90 next year
Dang.
in March. She's gonna be 90. So the stuff that they used to do back then, and when they, she tells me stories like that, and then I'll ask her about La Chusa and stuff like that, and she knows about all that stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knows all about it.
But I got one
But
more story for you, and if you want to keep on going, it's up to you. But I'm gonna tell you one more story. My
get it.
because you reminded me when you talked about your grandmother. So uh, when my grandmother passed away, um, my dad and my uncle, they're twins, but they were very close to their mom, of course, And my uncle was telling me that one night he was just feeling really bad. He was missing his mom a lot. And, uh, he told my aunt, "Hey, I'm gonna go lay down. I'm gonna go to sleep." It was kind of early, and he fell asleep, and he said that night he had a dream that his mom came into the room, bent over, and gave him a kiss, uh, and that was it, and she may have said something to him. I don't really remember that part, but she came in, bent over, gave him a kiss, and that was it, and. I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, he was talking, and he said when he woke up the next day, he felt really good. He felt really energized. He didn't feel that depressed anymore. And so he was a couple weeks later. He was telling my aunt about this dream, and how real it felt and how good he felt when he woke up, you know. And he felt like, like she was kind of coming to him, telling him everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be all right. Oh my, said, she goes, that night when you went to bed early, she goes, I went in the room to check on you and I saw your mom standing over you and she leaned over to give you a kiss.
Wow,
Yeah. But she didn't want to tell him anything, you know.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, the same thing happened with my mom and my dad. See, my dad passed away probably in 88, I think.
Hmm.
So my mom didn't want to live in that house, and this is the house where my grandma would visit me, the other house, and so my mom moved to this house that I'm in now,
Hmm.
and she said she wasn't sleeping. She was getting ready to go to work, or she was going to go somewhere, and my mom has this big mirror in her room, and behind her is the bed, and she said she was putting on her earrings and getting ready, and she looked in the reflection and my dad was sitting on the bed, and she said she didn't freak out, she didn't get scared, and he's looking around, and he's like, you did really good job on buying this house, and you're keeping the family together, and and he gets up and the bed responds to him getting up. And then she's still looking in the reflection, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's been kind of hard. I miss you and all this stuff." And he comes up behind her and gives her a hug, and she said, "I could feel him, I could smell him, and he was talking right in my ear, like he was holding me." And she said, as soon as she turned around to look at him face to face, he wasn't there. And she said she was wide awake. This happened, like probably a couple months after we moved here, and
Oh.
she never said anything because
Yeah.
she thought it was weird or whatever. And yeah, and then finally she told me, and I was just like, really? And me, I'm always doing uh bad things, listening to heavy metal and partaking in the devil's lettuce back then. Not now, not no more.
Hmm.
But I would get these boots stomping up and down the stairs. It would scare the crap out of me, dude. And I even had a girlfriend spend the night one time, and I got used to it. I got used to it at this point. It
Hmm.
didn't bother me no more. It's just boots stomping up and down the stairs. And this girl wakes me up. Boom, boom, wake up, wake up! Somebody's coming up the stairs. And I'm all like, "Oh, yeah, my house is haunted. Go
Yeah.
back to sleep." And she's sitting up, just sitting there like she stayed up until the sun came up, and she's like, "I gotta get out of here. I can't do this.
Hmm.
I ain't staying at your place no more."
Damn.
So yeah, that's one of the crazy things that's happened. And so it reminds me of that story that you just told about,
Hmm.
you know, my mom had the same thing happen.
Hmm.
And then she believes that she's had interactions with angels. Um, my mom, she went to a gas station one time, and she said she was getting gas, and she said this real beautiful lady came around the pump,
Hmm.
and she said this lady was like saying, "Oh, my mom was dressed up for church. She was going to go to church." And my mom, I don't know if you've seen pictures, but my mom, she dresses flashy. She wears like nice bright colors, and she likes to stand out.
Yeah.
And she takes pride in herself.
Right.
We'll
Yeah.
say that. Well, there's nothing wrong with, she takes pride and she wants to look her best on Sunday. And this lady's like, "Oh, wow, you look so beautiful. And, you're such a good person." And my mom's like, "Why is this lady saying that I'm a good person and all this stuff?" And, giving me all these compliments. This lady is talking to my mom like she knows her.
Hmm.
And my mom's kind of got this, like, kind of weird feeling, not bad, but just kind of, she thought it was real odd the way she was talking to her. And so my mom was like, well, thank you, for saying that. And so my mom turns around to put the gas back in the pump, and she turns around. She said the lady was standing right next to her,
Hmm.
and then she said when she did that, she turned around, the lady was gone, and my mom was the only one at the gas station at the pump, so there was no other cars, no nothing. And then my mom just kind of walked around looking for this lady, and she goes, "Man, I just got this like really good feeling, like kind of like maybe how your was it your cousin or whatever that had the mom?
My uncle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your uncle. So he, she just felt really good, like it was kind of like the angel was gonna put in a good word for her.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty. She's got a lot of good stories, and I try to get her where she'll come on, but she's kind of shy about that. My mom's not really
Yeah.
about the limelight.
Yeah.
I'm completely opposite. I'm more take after my dad. My dad would like get up and preach and stuff in church and stuff, and he would go to different churches
Yeah.
and preach there. Um, so I'm more like him. I don't really get shy or embarrassed or anything like that. So that's where I get it from.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah, I try to get stories for. That's why, like, if she tell me a story, I try to run and record it as fast as I can because I don't want to lose, any details or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I do the same thing when someone tells me something. Hold on, let me get a pen and pencil. Let me, I can write this down.
Yeah, you
And,
got to
and
get it.
they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, just tell me your story. I'll write it.
Yeah, or I'll try to record
Yeah.
stuff. Like I had a guy call me today from a friend of a friend who he had a Bigfoot experience out in California when he was younger, and he wanted to tell me about it, and I was like, oh man, heck yeah! So he was kind of like, I'm not sure what I saw. I don't know. You just tell me what you think. And he told me, his encounter, and I was like, yep, sound
Mhm.
like a squatch.
Yeah.
So hopefully I get that coming on one of my shows, get that put out there. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of good people to interview. I mean, like I talked to Bobby, Garza, Gabriel, and you know,
Yeah.
finally got you. And, I mean, people are wanting to talk to like big heavy hitters, you know,
Yeah.
Cliff and all that, and I mean that's all cool and stuff. But man, there's just so many untapped resources that we got
Yeah.
all. You go to your friend profiles, and
Yep.
man, there's all they got all these stories, and I'm trying to, and I got a couple of. I'm trying to get to you guys as soon as I can, but
Yeah.
I got to juggle a job and then editing, and so it takes a while
Right.
to get
Yeah.
them out. But everybody's got a real good, even if they think that it's not much, or you
Yeah.
know, to somebody else hears your encounter. Like I said, it gives you like somebody else might have experienced the exact same thing, so you just never know. Um, Even if you think your story's not important or not much to it, somebody else may have experienced something that's very similar to what you have, and you can start putting the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all information. It's all data. You know.
hmm
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do is just collect as much as I can, and that's what kind of got me to do the random show because man, I get everything from little people to lachusas to UFOs, and it'd be people that some of these people I had no idea that they had any sort of experience. So
Yeah.
even people move into houses like you said and have all kinds of weird stuff go on. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Just from doing my show, I've had people contact me, like friends and family would come up to me. Hey, man, I saw you on your show, and I got something to tell you, and then they'll tell me what was going on in their house or what they'd experienced. So it's pretty
Right,
cool.
right, and I see that you're moving a little bit more towards the paranormal side, which is pretty cool. And I think what you recently went out and did a paranormal investigation.
Yeah. I went to Mineral Wells, Texas. Went to the Haunted Hill House. Yeah. That was my first official paranormal investigation. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How did that go?
It was pretty cool, man. It was nothing really significant happened. I guess I heard some footsteps. I heard moving around. I was in this crawl space area. You had to duck down to get into. It was a tiny area, and
Right.
you could hear like something was walking around inside there. And I kept looking over there, and there's nothing there. One of the guys there, he had this little toy. It was a kid's toy. It was a penguin, and he had like this little fiber optic looking hair on top of its head. And if he touched that hair, the toy would go off and play music or whatever. And so he sat it down in the room that he had it in was like a kid's room. There was this little boy. I think his name was Toby. Where he died there in the house. So we had that toy sitting there. We're sitting there. We're kind of chatting back and forth. That little penguin just kept going off, playing this little music. They would light up and everything. You know.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah. And then this gentleman, he actually built his own spirit box. It almost looked like one of those little Marshall speakers. Those little Marshall speakers. But he built it himself, and he was showing me how it worked, going through telling me about the different frequencies and stuff like that, explaining it to me. He says, "I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna do a session." I said, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool." I said, "Do you mind if I go with you?" And before he could answer, a voice came through that spirit box, says, "Come up." You know,
Whoa.
yeah. It was so funny. And he looked at me and says, "Well, come on." He said, "Come up." Yeah,
Dang.
yeah, that was pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
Now, do you do anything sort of to protect yourself from anything bad or anything, you know, any prayers or I don't know what? Because I mean, I wouldn't want to go because I'd be afraid to get any sort of attachment or anything like that. I mean, I'm kind of happy with the way things are going now in my life, and I sure don't need no craziness going on with attachments like that. So,
Yeah, I'm not a very religious person, I guess you could say, but more spiritual side. So I did some stuff outside for myself, protect myself with like a what's called a round, like in a white light kind of thing, is what I call it. And that seemed to help out. And so nothing happened to me in there, nothing happened to me here at the house. So that's just kind of what I do.
I hear you. Yeah, man, you gotta be careful with that stuff.
Hmm.
You don't need any of that. It can get really weird.
Yeah, you're
Really
right
weird,
about that.
especially if you get some sort of negative attachment.
Right.
I mean, it's all fun and games until, like I said, blood starts coming out of the walls and your dog transforms into a dog man and try, tries to tries to eat your face or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Or you watched enough scary movies. Maybe it's just me, but I'd rather not even. No,
yeah.
that breaks my rules about the physical stuff.
Smart man. There you go. Someone commented, "Big dog, smart man."
Thank you. I try.
Well, cool, man.
Well, I guess that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I think that's it, man. I certainly talked a lot about a lot of different things I'm sure you might didn't know about me.
Well, they say I'm sort of the Barbara Walters of the cryptid. I'll start talking. I get people to talk about stuff that they would have never shared. Sometimes they leave me like,
Yeah,
you probably shouldn't have told me that.
yeah,
Well, man, I'm glad you opened up and
yeah, man.
thank you for your time. And yeah, man, anytime you just need a filler,
There
you
you
know,
go.
I'm pretty big and chunky. I can fill it up.
Okay, same to you, man. I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate everyone in the chat room, man. Thanks a lot for all the comments and staying proactive with the talk show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate everybody.
All right. Well, all right, guys. Y'all have a good night. Big dog, you have a good night yourself, young man.
You too, man. Say your prayers before you go to sleep.
All right.